Today I'd like to talk about my plans for this pond, all of the landscaping around it and all the things that are going to go around it. But I'm starting from this end where it's mostly finished. The landscaping's finished. I've even got some trees in. This bit's going to be the garden, and then these two islands are both garden islands. And if we get down here, this bit's filled with water usually, but at the moment it's dry, this little shallow bit, so the water sort of comes up to here. And we've got this garden island here and that garden island here, both just planted with cultivated trees and shrubs, so that it's just like a low maintenance kind of lump in the water that extends the garden out into the pond. And then beyond the islands it opens out into the main big bit of the pond. Then beyond this point it comes into the woodland here, and this little bit of the woodland coast is virtually finished, but around this corner we start getting into the areas that are not yet finished. So this completed woodland channel comes down here and sort of goes off that way, but then here we've got another woodland channel which is under construction. So whilst these channels are dried out, we sort of pickaxe this back in terraces to sort of make this woodland channel come right round here and cut off this island and another island that's behind it. And these are woodland islands, and this is like woodland here, so you have then a bit of pond in the woods and a bit of woods in the pond, so it creates a really nice kind of overlap. And then here the channel's continuing, we're just taking it all down a level at a time. Shovels here and pickaxe here, and it's a bit wet today, it's nice to do it, it's not too wet and muddy. And then here taking a level back of turfs here, so all this land's going to be lowered down to just above water level, and then this is like a gap between the islands, so you'll be able to sort of come up here in a canoe and go down all these little channels, and you've got this great overlap here as well with this island, and that's really good. All this bit will be lower down, all sort of pretty much just above water level, with then one path going off there through the woods and then one path going off there around the headland. But I'll have a bit more of a look over there later on. One really important goal is to have all of the rainwater being channeled towards the pond. So here from the pond this slope's being built up just gradually, and then it's going to continue in here as well. This bit's got to be filled up, and it's gradually being filled up, so eventually it'll be like a slope coming down this high, so we'll just fill it up to about there and then cover it with topsoil, and then it's all finished then. But it's sort of going to come along like this, so all the rainwater goes channeled towards the pond. So I'm kind of doing this this pond, this side here first, which is the sort of downstream end of it, and then gradually working down the sides and doing the steep back bit last. So if I just go and look at the other side now, which is just around here, this is the overflow for the pond, and I haven't decided exactly on it, but I've got it cut to kind of this level at the moment, so if it comes over the top it just gets channeled down there into a little ditch, and then the water sort of comes up here, and all this is water when it's full. And I mean, I've got a load of things I think to do here. Maybe just have a path coming round and a pipe going into the ditch. Maybe have some big stepping stones made out of clay that I can step across from here. This hedge is where the garden proper stops, and then just over here is the proposed subtropical garden. This is basically how the digger left it when they just dug this really big hole for the pond. So now it's up to us to landscape the bits around it. And this is like a drainage bit that comes in from outside, and the water that comes from the road comes in through a gap in the hedge and then comes down here feeding into the pond. And all this I wanted to cut into a subtropical garden just above water level. It's difficult to know exactly where the water level is going to be unless it's actually completely full. I think it's going to be about there somewhere. And so as you come along here, it gets like further away, so more of it's going to have to be cut down. So I'm going to have to remove like a foot or so, and then as I go along maybe 2 feet, so it make it just above the water level. And then just here is all the topsoil which the digger people put here for us. So after I've landscaped it, then I've got all this topsoil to put on top of it, and this bit's all a bank here against the north, and it's got a west-east bank as well, so it's nice and sheltered, and it faces south, so it gets a lot of sun and it traps it here. Also, the warming effect of the water, it shouldn't get as cold here, and it should be more sheltered here. Ideal for subtropical plants. Over there you can see the garden islands going round to the headland and all that top bit of the pond. But yeah, this bit is here for the subtropical garden. Over this far end there's much more of a slope here, there's much more to cut off. And I've got to decide whether to have this bit here as a dead end or whether to have a path coming around that side. So we'll just have a good look around here. Hello. I don't chase that, you might end up in the pond. Alright, so as I come down here, the water will probably come to about here. So water roughly about there. And then the garden will be like that height. And then this will be removed down, possibly into a slope, possibly into two paths, possibly just like a dead end, kind of loads of shrubs and things. And then around here, it's wider. I might even be able to get two paths going along this side. Maybe two paths that join, something like that. There's so many different ways you could do it, but that's the general idea. And this end, of course, has got this big bank and wild hedge to end this sort of subtropical zone, so it's nice and sheltered from the winds from sort of east, west and north, so it's should be really kind of sheltered and really good. So hopefully this will be a good subtropical garden and things will do really well here. And then moving on to the next bit, it's just through this little gap here. Here there's like a path that I want sloping down to the water here. So it's way too steep over here. And here it's a lot higher and needs to be cut down a lot more. So this path needs to be made quite a lot steeper. And then I'd like this end really to be just above the water level, maybe a foot or two above the water level, possibly with a footpath coming through to the subtropical garden. If not, then this hedge would continue along and make like a really strong barrier right up to the water's edge. And then this side will go along into the orchard. Here there's a lot to cut down, but if you look up there you can see there's a finished terraced or planted and established orchard at the top. And then just down here there's another terrace that's been cut, but when the people dug the pond for us, they couldn't turn round. I wanted this to be a really narrow little channel with the orchard sloping down to it, but he couldn't turn the machine round there, so he said I can either hire another machine as well or I'll have to make the pond a bit bigger. So I just make a split-second decision and say, okay, make the pond a bit bigger. So what we're going to have to do is then redesign the orchard around it so that instead of having this one shelf which will have 2 rows of fruit trees on it, split that shelf in half and have 2 rows of fruit, 2 shelves of orchard, so that the bottom shelf is lower down and just above the water level. So this bit here, like from about there, would be a lower shelf, and then this would be an upper shelf. These trees are all these fruit trees grow to 12 feet high, and they're all the same, so they go about 12 feet apart. So one row of fruit trees would be like here, and another row of fruit trees would be here along the edge here. So you could get 2 rows in, but it would be, if they're on shelves, it would be better. And then we haven't got this great big drop going down there. You'd have like when the water's full, it would just have like a foot, and then it would come onto a sloping shelf, and then go up like a 4-foot shelf, and then onto this shelf, which would be here. And then here, we've got this shelf here, which goes up to this, and it's nice to have like a complete bit of orchard to show what it would look like. So you have another one of these down here, and then down here you could jump down again and you'd be on another shelf down here, and then hopefully that should be the right level. From here you can see this like half-built woodland headland on the other side, which we didn't quite get to going around that way, and you can see how it makes this bit of the pond curve round and be like a whole different kind of bit. And then you can see that gap with the wheelbarrows and the buckets up there, where the woodland channel, where the little pond channel through the woods is going to go. So it's going to be able to go in a canoe right up the back there and come out between any of those islands. Which brings us to this bit. I wouldn't normally tie a rope to a dead tree, but this is the only tree there is, and it's recently died, so the bottom's still strong. So I'll just tie this to here quickly, and then have a look at this great big cliff here. Because where the orchard's going to split into three, I'd like to have 3 paths, or kind of a merging of paths, like a braiding of paths, where this one cliffy path is now. And for that I'm going to need more space. So all this bit of orchard here, up to about here, is going to be cut away to be able to give more space for this project. So it was going like 1 tree, 2 trees, 3 trees, but I'm going to go 3 rows of 1 tree and then go into the bigger rows. So it's going to be about like this much more space. So get back down here again. This was a bit more scary than the other one. Put the rope right down the bottom and have a go down here. This top path is going to still have to, there's going to need to be a higher path going up to the higher orchard. But then down here there'd be another path or 2 going down to the other orchards as well. And it'll be sort of sloping up from over there. So sort of, I guess this kind of level for the middle orchard, maybe lower, because I think the middle orchard needs to be made more sloping as well. And then as I get down here, there'll be another path somewhere here, and possibly a path right down on the water's edge along the pond here. It's difficult to know exactly, but somewhere along here will be a load of paths just sort of going up to the different destinations and connecting up to the orchard with this little valley over here. So down here is this little valley, which is a drainage valley to collect water from different parts of the land. This is all about putting water into the ponds and getting all the rainwater. So this valley here, which fills up more when the pond's high, it comes up to probably about this high when it's full, and there's a big exposed water iris there. So this side here is the headland bit, the woodland headland, and then this side here is all these paths going off to the orchards. And I would have fruit trees on these paths themselves, because they are still extensions of the shelf. So these paths will also be orchards going off into the orchards. So this valley here is the divide between these 2 different environments. I'll go back up here again. As it's good to have a kind of a plan in mind, but plans are always kind of flexible and can change. Usually as I get closer to an area or get an area partly done, I can see more of what I want to do. It's like the more I get done, the more different shapes and landforms kind of jump out at me. But that's the basic idea for this bit. And although it's quite an intricate idea, it's always good to keep these ideas simple, because it's kind of easier to do them if they're fairly simple. But sort of a balance between intricate and simple. That's what I always like to try and aim for. All the way up, orchard on that side, woodland on that side, and that brings us back to this woodland headland here. There's like a path that goes off through the woods there if you don't fancy going around the edge of the water, or there's this much longer windy path which will be at a different level probably, coming along here and then going round the corner. So you've got this path will be much lower, kind of hugging the water level, so this sloping bank here will be much higher, so as you're walking around it you won't be able to see what's around the corner, and that will make it seem much more like you don't know what's around the corner. It makes it all seem bigger, like there's more here, and it really kind of wiggles the footpath and extends the footpath all the way around here. So we've finished bits of it with trees on, but then bits of it aren't finished yet, and sort of gradually as we're working around, this bit will get done, and then it sort of turns around the corner here and goes into the woodland channels a bit further on down here. There's a lot of pickaxing to get this path down to just above water level, but then because it's quite thin, that makes it a lot less, and we would come at it from the side so we can take the soil away and put it somewhere else. Yeah, that's really good. That's about the whole kind of pond idea then. So hope you liked today's video. If you did, please like and subscribe. And if you press the little me, you can see all my other videos. If you have any questions, please ask. And I shall see you next time.